Welcome to Creative Bites, your go-to podcast for an inspiring mix of creativity, entrepreneurship, communications, and much more. I'm your host, Ivona Fluda, and in each episode, we will bring you compelling stories from the movers and shakers across various industries. We will discover how ideas evolve, how communication shapes our world, and how the entrepreneurial spirit drives progress. Whether you're looking for inspiration, innovation, or just a good story, you will find it here. So tune in, join the conversation, and explore the many facets of creativity with us. The following conversation is with Lauren Dickinson. Lauren is an artist, an energy medicine practitioner, a certified retreat leader, and the founder of Orion Retreats. Lauren, it's such a great privilege to have you here with me today. We have known each other already for a while, and I know your journey as a creator, as an artist, as an entrepreneur. You're tackling so many different things in your hands all the time, and that's something very special. And my first question to you would be, how did you end up doing what you are doing? How did you find the spark of creativity to become an artist, to become an entrepreneur, to become the creators that you are meant to be?
Yeah, thank you. And first of all, thank you for having me here. It's always such a pleasure talking to you. And I love when we get together, we just like fire off ideas and my brain just feels like 10 times expanded. So thank you. That's a really good question. I've been getting that from different places. I think the main thing is like, you know how like life, you think you're going in one direction and life kind of takes over and brings you over here and you find certain skills along the way that you didn't know you had, and it could never have been planned in any kind of, linear fashion. I was always a creative child, and just in general, just always had my head in the clouds, was always doing something creative, at least in my mind. I was always out exploring, which was another big thing. I had a really strong relationship to what I perceived as God when I was young. And all that being kind of like who I was, I went to art school for a little while because I decided in high school that nothing else, fascinated me. And there's nothing else that I wanted to do but just create and be an artist. I'm like, you can make money doing this, or you can make not even money, but like you can make artwork and people will like appreciate it and like it, and you can do this as a living. And I was like, sign me up. Um, I wasn't able to finish art school, so I didn't have to, I don't have a formal degree in it, but I loved it. And I always thought that I would go back to art school. I had to leave for certain like family reasons. And over the years, as I was kind of like making my way away from art, still trying to figure out my purpose, I got into the healing arts, which I found a lot of like ambition for and passion for. I almost became a chiropractor, naturopath. I'm actually in naturopathic studies, but I just found alternative health and healing kind of, my thing too. So I was like, well, how can I do that and then still be an artist? So I just kind of like let go of all my expectations of what I was supposed to do. And I just knew that my purpose would eventually come. And roundabout, long story way, getting into the retreat business, not only like helped me to activate the creativity that I already had and was latent inside of me, I was able to take all the natural health and healing and then all the ambition as an entrepreneur that I developed while working for doctors and chiropractors as entrepreneurs and kind of assistants to them. So it all kind of became like this holistic vehicle that I found my true voice in, I found my true passion in. And now it's an amalgamation of a lot of different things. But I couldn't be more happy. I think that the term I've heard is polymath. It's just like you just have so many interests. And in retrospect, I was always trying to focus on finding my one thing, and I'm totally okay that it's not one thing. It's a lot of things, and all they do is like help me to fill my soul. So I can't give up any of them.
That's wonderful. You mentioned something so important. You mentioned that you allowed yourself to let go of the expectations. But I know that can be very challenging, right? It's not the kind of a one thing you're, just
Yeah.
deciding, I let go of all of the expectation, because there are so many, and there are so many also biases related to your career, your life, your personal, professional life in general. How did you go through the process of just letting go of the societal expectations?
it was a very long and slow process. A lot of it was emotional for me, because I was so set that the art was my thing, and I finally found it, and I was really attached to it. And you know how like your internal world manifests in your external world, right? So the perfect example that I have of this process of surrendering is that in art school, I learned anyone who goes, you learn very technical things, technical portrait drawing, technical painting, technical, everything's like very set to form. And when I lost my creativity for about a good, like almost 10 years, and I was dabbling in the healing arts and doing all this, but when I finally came back and sat down to paint, I tried to do the technical form, but I hadn't had any skills anymore. So I ended up just like kind of putting down some color, and like this really cool texture like appeared on the canvas. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I kind of did a little bit more, and then all this texture keeps coming out, and I just like went with it and continued to just like layer. And that's where you come up with stuff like this that I can't plan this. You get into the flow and you do something like this. So it was an ongoing process physically of just creating without any objective or any intent. Um, that was the biggest shift for me. It was just getting into abstract art. Beyond that, it was really, again, an emotional thing where I just had to like really just accept what I considered fate, accept my surrendering to, well, if this is meant to be, if I'm meant to go back to school for this, or if I'm meant to be an artist, it will come back. And it did. Definitely not in the way that I expected it would. So it was a really powerful like life lesson in general that I think can be applied to many different areas, is just like having complete faith and surrender in what truly becomes like real. Like it's trust and faith in yourself. We are the universe inside ourselves, and we can call it God outside or the universe outside, but it's all inside. So it was really a journey of finding my voice and my truth, and surrendering to that, and knowing that whatever is supposed to come, I will know, I will be guided to what the next step is for me.
Yes, very beautiful. You mentioned that you lost your creativity for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Could you share what triggered this loss?
Yeah, you're asking the good questions. At right around all the same time, I had to leave art school because I was transferring to another school. There were some hiccups with my financial aid, and so I had to postpone it, which I thought was only going to be a semester. Right about that time, my father passed away, and my father was one of my biggest cheerleaders. He was one of my biggest I wouldn't say reasons, but he and my mom, thankfully, both really encouraged me in my artwork. There was not a lot of things that I showed passion for when I was young. Sports, I played them, but they weren't quite my thing. I was very academic, but even at that point in high school, I was kind of had lost my interest in being the academic student. So art was really like the thing. And he was always very encouraging of that. And so when that happened, in retrospect, it wasn't conscious at the time, but in retrospect, I think sometimes that I was also doing it to keep that connection with him, and to keep that sense of like validation, approval from my parents that I'm doing something that they loved and enjoyed for me. And just the trauma of it, just the trauma of kind of the situation, what happened when he passed. It just changed my brain. And I went into just this chronic PTSD state for a number of years, and going through the healing arts and doing this long healing journey and process. That's really what truly got me back to my creativity. So it was like this kind of really cool prodigal son story of like the trauma made the split for me to leave it, but then it also became the healing to come back to the art. And, I've had a really beautiful experience kind of honoring my dad through my art now. So.
Congratulations on the journey. I cannot even imagine how hard it has been, over the years to keep on going, to keep on creating, keep on trusting the path, the flow, the faith, the universe, whatever you believe in, that at the end it's going to come out really beautifully for you. And it did. And you can be so proud of yourself for the whole process, and for the trust that you have, and for the courage that you also embody in your life. And the courage is very visible in your work, not just in your artistic work, but also in your entrepreneurial endeavors. And I'm very curious to learn about your company, the Orion Retreats, and all of the beautiful things that you are co-creating with other people for this business.
Thank you. It still feels fairly new, although we're a few years into the the company process, but or the company creation. It's been a fun for me. It started out with an idea that, hey, I want to create retreat experiences and give people like transformational, adventures and journeys. And then I brought in a friend who was doing some Enneagram retreats or Enneagram education. And I was like, hey, do you want to do retreats? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And started with that one person, and then someone else came and someone else came. And then people asked me to start planning retreats for them. And because I'd also been a coach in the past too, and really wanting to like be in the personal development world, I kind of took to this like duck to water of doing transformational experiences. So yeah, there's adventure. Yes, there's spiritual journeys that we go on because of the healing arts background that I have too. But it's an amalgamation of just all of these things again that I'm interested in. And then for me, it was so joyful to find other people that were interested in this, like really truly finding my tribe just through the people that I'm working with. And thank you for saying that it looks courageous, because sometimes I feel like there's so much more that I could be doing, but we're growing quickly, and I'm just trying to keep my feet on the ground and keep my head out of the clouds and do it smart. I've always feel like I've always had a really good business acumen. I also got that from my dad. And it's just, I want to have fun doing it, and work with the people that I want to work with, both as retreat leaders and colleagues, but also the guests. And you put something out there, that whole, if you build it, they will come, field of dreams. Like if you build something and other people want that, then you're on your mission. You're doing something that is needed in the world, and those people will find you.
Absolutely. I can imagine, because that's at least my experience, and that's an experience of many of the entrepreneurs I know. From the idea, from the inception to the kind of real case business type of thing, it takes a while. It's not an easy process. Or, well, it can be fun. It's very often, fun and struggles and everything at the same time. How was your process from the idea of Orion Retreats to where you are these days?
Yeah, that is such a good question. Sometimes a lot of it feels like it happened organically, but also I've kept a really close eye on, okay, how does this feel for me? I'm a generator in human design, so I get a very visceral like yes or no. And so there was some trial and error with some circumstances early on, and some people, and getting really clear on who I wanted to work with and who I didn't want to work with. Anyone can say they want to put on a retreat, but I want to work with people that are in it for the right reasons. Not that there's any wrong reasons, but just, you get real clear really quickly on who you align with. Again, it started out with the idea that I thought that I was going to be myself and a few other close friends and coaches and colleagues were going to be the ones putting on all the retreats. And I ended up taking a masterclass program with one of my coaches, one of my mentors. It was fabulous. It was with Sherry Rosenthal, and she taught you how to build a successful retreat, make sure that you're in profit, make sure you have all your expenses covered. And had I not taken that, I would be paying people, come on my retreat, let's just put this together and go. Because you learn that early on, like you get so wrapped up into the process of it that you don't care if you make any money, which it sounds noble, but if you're going to be doing this for a living, you have to make sure that you're getting paid yourself. And so when I came out of that, I started working with a couple people that we were putting some retreats together. And then I got approached by a few people to say, hey, can you help me build my retreat? I'm like, well, yeah, let's do this. Still kind of figuring out what the whole company was going to be. And I found that I've always loved helping other people. And I've known for a while, I didn't know how it was going to express itself, but I've known for a while that part of my soul purpose is to help other people live out their soul purpose. So for me, it became a really, just a really beautiful, like soul fulfilling thing for me, that I can help other people show up and share their gifts, and I'll take care of all the planning stuff and all logistics. I can be really organized, and I'm really good at the details. It's my Virgo-ness. But then like giving like the soul fulfillment of being able to support somebody else where they can just show up and share their magic, that was a win-win for me. So that became kind of the duality of the business, where I'm both a retreat planner and marketing, and help like make connections for people to share their message, not just in the retreat, but I'm working with other coaches. One of my clients, like we're helping her to develop like an entire like coaching program, all her audience, because she's a little bit newer at it. So that's really fulfilling for me, being a mentor in that way. And then also helping people to avoid the pitfalls of not planning a retreat properly, where you're spending money where you shouldn't be. So that's where I feel like I can kind of help in that way. And then the other side of it is me, developing not only my presence as a coach, but then my retreat leader facilitations. I do a few retreats around the year too. And so that I feel like is a culmination of everything that I learned that I can bring into the retreats. And I'm always constantly developing myself, but then also going through that experience, and I can take that experience back to my team, my network and collective of facilitators. And it's kind of like this really beautiful, like, symbiotic relationship. And I love it. I couldn't be more happy with it.
What you mentioned is very beautiful, because basically when you know your core values, you know your life purpose or whatever kind of guides you through your life, then it's so much easier to fulfill yourself, to fulfill your time here on this planet Earth, and also to serve, if that's your purpose. And I think it's very beautiful that you combine all of the different components and make something out, beautiful, that also serves people. What is
Thank
in
you.
the menu for this year? Because I know that you are planning already a few retreats in different corners of the world. So I'm curious to learn what's on the menu.
Yeah, thank you. This is exciting to me because I have a million ideas a day, and it's just a matter of which is the one that wants to come down the funnel first, right? As creative people, we're always thinking and creating, but the biggest thing I'm excited about is doing some creativity retreats.
Me
You
too.
and I talked about that. Yeah, exactly. So super excited for that and can't wait to dive into that, because I would just love to work with you as a retreat leader and, fellow creative, and, we have lots to create together. But that's going to be kind of in development for the year. My goal initially, before we even started talking, was to start launching those in 2026. So that's going to be exciting. That gives me the rest of this year to develop more of my business. I'm going to be starting some quantum mastermind retreats. They will again start out with an idea, a blueprint of what I think it is now, and it will evolve. I know that, but do some business things together where we get a bunch of entrepreneurs together to be like, hey, do you want to launch a new product? Do you want to elevate your coaching, experience? Do you want to, whatever your goal is as an entrepreneur, let's all come together. We'll share and brainstorm ideas. I think the first one around that is going to be the one that we're talking about in Bali. For October and November. I think that would be wonderful. I have one for Chile, Patagonia, coming up in October of 2025. That's really, really exciting. That's like the ultimate bucket list retreat. Easter Island, El Calafate, Torres del Paine, like all of the Patagonia that I wanted to see all growing up. Plus Easter Island, which is like total bucket list, like putting them all together. And I've got an amazing team there. Putting this together with us, coaches and a gastronomy team. That's really exciting. I have a series of human design retreats that I am not facilitating myself, but I'm supporting a facilitator in planning aspects in Kansas City. So we have about 3 of those coming up this year. And then Enneagram, we're continuing with those this year for Kansas City as well. Again, I'm more the planner for those and helping to support them and give them the funnels and marketing assistance that they need to fill those. But those are really cool because I really like being in the personal development and educational sphere as far as our offerings. I'm toying with the idea. Iceland and Croatia have been top on my list for a while, but I think I'm learning how much it does take to put on an international retreat. So it might not be this year, but it might be 2026. But once I get kind of like the cadence of all this, I want to offer like 4 international retreats per year. I brought on a director of retreat development in the last few weeks, and we are getting our systems in place and getting ready to kind of launch something together. But basically, it's a fabulous woman. Her name is Marla. She lives on Isla Mujeres. There, I said it finally good. In Mexico, and she's been a retreat planner, but she's also been a teacher and a education leadership trainer for a number of years, like 20 something years. And so we're collaborating, and it was this really beautiful process. Again, everything just kind of happens organically, but we were both in the right place at the right time, and we're creating basically a not only retreat planning services and expanding the offerings that I had already and bringing on her expertise, but then also like creating a content, like retreat leader package for content, where they will walk through her proprietary framework from A to B of how to get your clients and your guests to achieve the things that you are telling them that they're going to achieve through your retreat. Going through literally a framework and a process where they have tangible results, and they can like actually, as leaders, speak to like, I can almost guarantee that you're going to get this, this, and this out of it, because it's built in a way that it's creating yeah, more of a process and framework again. I think a lot of retreat leaders, and myself included early on too, is like we have these grand visions of like, oh, I just want to do a retreat. Everyone's gonna be happy and get everything they want out of it. And mostly, yes, because people can unplug from their lives and go do something different. But when you're offering and promising and really like telling people that you can help them change their lives, help them change something really important to them. That's all next level stuff. And so we're positioning ourselves as a company now to be able to provide even that much more support for our retreat leaders. And I am so excited to be launching. We're going to be launching at the end of May. So we've got all these things ready and going, but we're working out our details and systems now. But I'm very, very excited to be sharing that.
Congratulations and fingers crossed for the launch.
Yeah,
You
thank you.
mentioned something very important. You mentioned that you want to help people to change, and we know that change itself can be very challenging. And most of the time, we also resist the change ourselves.
Yes.
How would you start? How would you encourage people just to take the leap of faith and say, like, right now I want to change, when
Yeah.
you know that they need that?
Yeah. See, that's a tricky thing. Because it has such implications if you say, oh, I want to help you change. Well, what's wrong with the way I am now? And we all do that to ourselves, and that's where that resistance comes. And so what I would say is like, don't focus on what you want to change or what's wrong with you or, what's holding you back. Like really like the secret to change is focusing on the new, not the
Mhm.
old. I don't remember who said that, Alan Watts or something like that. But focus on the things that you want to call into your life. One of my really good friends and colleagues talks about the horizon self and about calling that person in the horizon life. And actually, he's my personal coach too, so it's working for me. So there's something to it, that just focusing on the future. And yes, there's going to be some things that kind of come up that might hook you back to old patterns and old thought beliefs, or thought patterns and beliefs. But you can just kind of like, be aware, observe it, know that it's not you. Thoughts and feelings, they're not real, they're not reality, they're just how we felt about something at the time. And you can kind of unhook it as you start to move forward, and then you feel where there's resistance and you just gently unhook these little things and you keep going. And I think that's really important, because if you make change be all this work, then of course our ego, who's not, they were like, why are we going to change? We like the way things have been. This is my comfort zone. We don't, we'll fight against ourselves this entire time. But if we can focus on what our life will look like on the other side of that change and just keep that in mind, keep that vision, I think that's kind of part of the secret sauce of all of that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that wisdom. What is in general your vision for the future, knowing all of that, knowing what you have already achieved and what you went through yourself and the whole transformation that you went through? What would you say is your vision for the future?
Thank you for asking. It's very near and dear to me. I don't know if it's too lofty. I know that the whole entire world, there's so much going on that we can't all heal. I know that there's certain ways that the world is, that it's just the way that it is, karma, fate, always this back and forth. I would personally, I'd love, obviously not to see any more wars, and I think it takes a lot of personal responsibility for the masses to really come to the point where they're not going to choose that war either. And then also like disrupting the agendas of the powers that be that are creating those wars and creating those, hateful dynamics. That's a whole kind of another conversation, but really, this is so good because I don't, yeah, again, I try not to be too, lofty or,
Just speak from your heart. That's the most important part.
yeah, thank you. I would love for everyone to have the courage to show up as themselves in the world, to be human, with all of our inherent flaws and differences, like, but be tolerant of it with other people. And I think that if we can achieve that within ourselves, then we can affect the world positively around us, both through our actions and our behavior towards others, but also just our energy and the frequencies that we emit. And I really truly have a vision for a better world. um, I think that's probably the whole mission and why behind Orion Retreats, is just creating containers for people to really discover what they're here for. When you stop like looking at what's wrong with the world, what's wrong with other people, and you just focus your attention on yourself, that's where the work is. And that's how we can, truly the only way that we can make true change. I mean, have been a political advocate in my past, and this and this and this should be this way, but it comes down to like, no, the only thing that we can really truly control is ourselves, and showing up in a way that is authentic and brave and loving, and just show up better for themselves, and then from a happy place. And not that there's any pressure to be happy, but it's truly like healing all of our stuff, all of our collective stuff, all of our individual things. And and I know it's not easy. Like I just went through that entire process, of healing, and it does take a lot of work, but mainly it has to do with like, if you think about the problems of most people, it's how other people have treated them, or yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with how other people have treated them. So if we can take responsibility for our shadow, for our negativity in any way, or heal the things that other people have done to us, then we can stop that pattern of doing that to other people. I think you even said that beautifully the other day. It's like, XYZ person is going to have their own karma. They're going to have their own, come to Jesus moments in their life, through what they've done. But we can stop that, and we can stop that back and forth. And I believe in karma and past lives. And I think that when we take the opportunity to stop the karma and stop repeating the cycle, then we've healed that for generations back, but then also we heal the future because we've stopped that dynamic. And I think that as more people just really lean into their own healing, their own selves, that we can stop treating other people in ways that we were not even aware of. Like, we can have all the best intentions in the world, but you don't know how that person's going to receive it. So to act in a way that is of the highest integrity and highest authenticity for where we are, open-heartedly, I think is the biggest way to make change. It's not easy, but I think there's so much more that we can do on that level. And again, that's why I want to create experiences where people can have containers where that is safe for them. It's hard to be really like open-hearted and stay in the world and not armor up when we need to. Like, I mean, we should armor up when we need to, but it's like, it's hard to live a heart-centered life. Like, it truly, truly is. But if people, they're not going to be able to change that or get more heart-centered if they're not in the right environment to feel safe, that's okay. So giving people a pause, creating that safety for them where they can like do the inner work, look at themselves differently, and then come back into the world and affect it differently, then I think that's really powerful. And that's one of my main goals with the company.
Basically, you co-create the safe spaces for people to be seen, accepted, loved, and celebrated.
Exactly. As they are, not only for like who they want to be, which is wonderful, but like really letting people be seen for where they are, for everything that they are, truly their divinity, and letting them see that for themselves. Absolutely.
And with all of that knowledge and all of your experience and your wonderful visions for the world and yourself, what would you say these days to your younger self, the one that struggled at that time to become an artist, the one that, was very creative, but maybe couldn't express her creativity at that time? What would you say to her?
Don't give up, and don't, well, that was me. And what if I could talk to my older self, I would say to trust yourself and to allow yourself to be just as you are. If you don't want to create, don't create. If you do want to create, by all means create. But don't let the world stop you from doing anything that you want to do. And don't let, something I'm personally working on, don't let your own self-talk be the world talking to you and stopping you. Like, we tend to, we take on the role of our abusers or our negative talks or things that we've heard from other people, and just be kind to yourself and trust the process, and also start the process. Do a little bit, even if it's not much. Carry a sketchbook with you, carry something that that you love doing, even if it's just like a book of poetry or writing. Like, creativity comes out in so many different ways, but just do a little bit of something, and don't do it for the creation process. Don't do it for any external thing. Do it for you. Do it because you love it and enjoy it. And each little time that you do it, you're creating new neural pathways in your brain. This is a scientific thing, that you're creating a new pathway for you to like live into that, and just to trust that. And yeah, don't let the world stop you from doing anything, and know that it will be part of your healing. And when you see yourself on the other side, you're going to be glad you didn't give up.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for the whole conversation. I'm very excited for you, for your business, for all of the people who are going to be part of your journey and the part of your retreats.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed for the future, and I hope we can talk soon again.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Creative Bites. It's been a pleasure sharing these stories and insights with you. Remember, creativity is all around us, ready to be discovered, nurtured, and celebrated. I'm Ivona Fluda, and until next time, keep creating, keep exploring, and keep inspiring. Thanks for listening, and goodbye for now.